This is my first review in 2025 for the home market, housing market performance for the following counties in the North Texas region: Johnson County, Parker County, Ellis County, and Wise County in North Texas. Let's start with 2024 pricing. As we all know, 2024, we had a very contentious election with a lot being promised by both parties and some reforms being promised by both parties for the housing prices, for tax benefits, etc. So many people who were trying to purchase in 2024, once the election picked up speed, they started to be a little bit on a fence whether or not to buy now or to wait until the new administration shapes up. And that actually affected real estate market quite a bit. And I believe that the big slowdown that we had in 2024 with home purchases was due to the election uncertainty and also despite the Fed doing its best to lower the interest rates on their end, even with the Feds cutting the rates, we did not really see the home mortgage interest rates go down that much. In fact, they continued to increase toward the end of 2024. As a result, we see a pretty mixed picture here for these four counties in terms of pricing for homes. Now, we have selected homes for residential, single-family homes, 3 to 4 bedrooms, and my apologies, should show resale in here. I'm not talking about new construction. Maybe new construction will be for another video. But what we see right now is that we have Johnson County. I'll just take Johnson County, which is shown in blue. We can see that compared to 2022, we actually had a pretty decent year. The performance of Johnson County for the last 3 years has been surprisingly steady compared to some other counties, such as, for example, Wise. But even with this fairly even performance, we see that the peak for Johnson County was in October, surprisingly. I would expect the peak to be closer toward the summer, but in the summer, even though the performance was fairly good in the summer and we have this upward movement of pricing, we can see that the true peak of pricing performance came fairly late in the year. Now, that was the only county with such a late peak in its performance. Let's just take Parker County as an example of a nearby county. So Johnson and Parker are fairly closely located together, but look at the difference in the performance. Parker County had a really steady year overall. Compared to the previous years where you could see some very dramatic twists and turns, the Parker County performance was very steady through the entire year. We can almost draw the line over here and see that it creates a nice big curve. So I would say that for homes in Parker County, their performance was one of the best performances in the entire DFW market, North Texas market. And notice that the performance in 2024 was on par with the peak performance in 2022, which is kind of unusual for our DFW market. So Parker County was definitely a winner in the west part of the North Texas area. Let's take a look at the Ellis County. Ellis County is in light yellow, on light green. We can see that Ellis County, compared to, let's just say, previous year, continued a fairly good streak. We see that it was on the upswing for most of the year and didn't really start to go down until toward after summer. But what we also notice is that the prices, the average or median prices in Ellis County actually exceeded the prices for 2022, which is kind of unusual because in most other counties, 2022 was showing peak prices for homes, for home markets. And last but not least, let's look at the Wise County. So Wise County had very uneven performance, even though it did have a nice cute peak right here in June, which means that the contracts were actually drawn up in May. We see that it went from a high in December to an extreme drop in prices. Or at the very least, maybe the prices did not drop, but just homes that were on the market during this specific period of time were in a different price range than homes that went on the market during these peak periods. I do not know how to explain this huge. So let's just say in December, the median sale price for Wise County was 480, and literally 2 months later in February, it was 285. That is a loss of $200,000. Again, I cannot believe the prices actually dropped by $200,000. I just think that homes that were on the market during this period were very, pardon me, different in quality and in maybe year build or something. That home that were in the market in this period, I do not know, but nevertheless, it is one of the most drastic drops in the entire Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I wanted to highlight you. So if you're thinking about flipping in Wise County, just be mindful that if you get on the wrong side of the cycle, you might have severe consequences to the profitability of your flip. But then we can see that we had in Wise County a really strong peak in May, the contracts written in May, and then it dropped down almost like $100,000 again in pricing until it slightly recovered in December toward the end of the year, and then it plummeted again. So I would say that of all these 4 counties, if you were to flip a house, my first choice would be Parker, simply because when you calculate the ARV, the actual the after repair value of the property, it is more likely to hold up across multiple months than, for example, in ARV in Wise County or even in Ellis County. And so Ellis County was a fairly steady performer, and so was Johnson County. So you can see the green and the blue in here. But Ellis County, I'm sorry, Wise County. So my bad. Ellis County and Johnson County didn't deliver very strong performance, but was fairly consistent. And then Wise County is the one that's really creating this troublesome pattern right here. Now, that was as far as the prices. Let's look at our days on market. So even though the prices are all over the place for the counties, we can see that their days on market are fairly steady and predictable. We can see that the best performance in days on market now, when it comes to days on the market, the lowest number is the best performance. So we can see that throughout the year, I would say toward the summer, the best performance was actually in Ellis County, and the worst performance was in Wise County, not surprisingly. And then toward the end of the year, we had the gigantic spike in Parker County, which means that from the time when people stopped buying homes, maybe after August till November, till the start of the winter holidays, people in Parker County really held on to those listings and did not cancel the listings. You see the sharp drop in a number of days in the market probably signifies the cancellation of listings and people just exiting the year and deciding to wait and to sell next year. And we can see that the worst performance was in Parker County in the fall/winter, and the best performance was actually in Ellis County. Again, so Ellis County continues to surprise me with their lower days on the market. Let's look at the months of supply. Months of supply, the measurement of a ratio between sold and unsold homes. So the higher the months of the supply measurement, the more months it will take for the market to absorb the current inventory of homes. We can see that in terms of months of supply or backlog of inventory, we had a peak in the summer, and then it started to really dissipate toward the end of the year. Probably as people started to cancel their listings and wait until next year to put the homes back on the market. But we can see that the backlog of unsold homes was bigger in 2024 than it was in 2023 or even the worst parts of 2022. We pray that 2025 will be much better from the standpoint of backlog of unsold homes. But imagine many of these homes who pulled away from the market and decided to list next year will actually come back on the market this year, and they will create this big bump again. So that was months of supply. For continuing the discussion about the supply side of the home market in these 4 counties, we can see that even though we do not see anything drastic, it's kind of like a predictable growth of supply, which tells me that maybe people who try to sell here couldn't sell it. They decided to wait and relist in 2023. They relisted, maybe didn't sell again. They waited again, and now these people experienced higher number of competing homes for sale. They couldn't sell either, so they also decided to list. So now we double the number of people who are waiting to sell on a better year. Then they relisted again altogether, every time snowballing slightly into a bigger backlog of unsold homes. So just from the standpoint of inventory, we definitely have an overabundance of supply in all of these counties at this point, with the highest number of oversupply being in Parker County and the lowest one, as far as I can tell, or at the very least. So this is homes for sale. Let's look at the months of supply. So the worst backlog was in Wise County. The least backlogging county was Johnson County, followed by 5.1 in Johnson, 5.3 in Ellis, 5.7 in Parker, and then 7.6 in Wise. So from a standpoint of a backlog, again, Parker County is showing the best performance. So if you're planning to flip in that part of the DFW region, I would say Parker County seems to be a better bet than Johnson County and Ellis County, and definitely better bet than Wise County. So we're done now with looking at the supply side of the market. Let's take a look at the demand side of the market. So closed sales show the demand side of the market. And we can see that the demand is really diminishing for all counties compared to 2022, for example. So this is a 10-year picture of the demand for homes in these 4 counties. And we can see that for the last 5 years here, from 2015 to 2020, beginning of 2020, we saw fairly consistent demand. It was growing slightly, but it was consistent. Then we had a spike in these 2 years. We can easily see the spike. But actually in Ellis County, the spike continued even after the spikes in some other counties died off. But then we see a sharp drop compared to 2022 performance. We have a sharp drop, and then it continues to stay fairly consistent in 2023 and 2024. As you can see, most of these peaks and valleys are actually very similar. So I would say for these 4 counties, the 2023 looked like a complete repeat of 2024. 2024 and 2025 looked very similar from a standpoint of buyer demand. And then shows per listing, last measurement that I typically take a look at is how many people were actually visiting the properties before the properties got sold. And we can see that in 2024, the highest number of people walking the properties on average, now this is median prices, some houses might have had 150 people show up on one weekend and other ones had 2. So if we take just an average or a median measurement for shows per listing, we see that Ellis County and Johnson County had the best performance with 5 people on average walking the property before it goes under contract. Then Parker County is close second with 4.2, and then Wise County is again very low with 3.1, which means that we had only 3 people walking the property compared to just say 5 people in Johnson or in Parker County. That is pretty much it for the review of the performance of these 4 counties for 2024. Now, that was a review of homes for sale. For those of you who are interested in similar information for new construction or maybe you're looking for condos, ranches, or townhomes information, let me know. I can easily pull this data for you for a listing or for the county or for the zip code that you need based on your own parameters. So thank you so much for staying with me, and I will see you guys at the next video.